Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel Code Fusion Hub. Today, continuing our series on advanced Angular topics, we are going to move on our 8th lecture. In case if you are new to Angular or need a refresher on the basics, you can check out my Angular playlist for beginners, which I'll drop the link in the description box. You can check it out from there. It's packed with tutorials and projects to help you grasp the fundamental concepts. Stay tuned for the video and remember there will be quizzes at the end of each topic to test over your understanding. Don't forget to drop your answers in the comment section below. Alright, so let's not waste any more time and jump right into the video. So our topics for today's lecture are going to be about what is an auth service, what are authentication guards. Okay, why do we require authentication over in any application? Whenever you are logging into an application, there are multiple routes and multiple paths over in your application. So you don't want any user to provide incorrect credentials and route on another page, right? It should be an authenticated user who has the rights to access all the pages in your application. So we'll see and have a look how to provide authentication service and what is the usage of authentication services and guards in any Angular application. So first of all, let's have a look on what is an auth service. It's a service which is responsible for managing all the authentication related functionalities such as logging in or logging out, or what is the current state of the user. Is it logged in or is it logged out? It encapsulates all the authentication logic and making it reusable across all the different components. Okay, so you do not need to rewrite the code again and again in multiple components. It is on a root level, so you can access it in different components and guard the application completely over this. So let's see how to create an auth service in our project folder. So here we are having a module into which we had created many components for our advanced Angular concepts. Okay, so here I have created an auth folder which is on app level basis. Okay, so on clicking on this app, you have to just go over here, create a new folder, and into this folder you are going to put all the authentication services and guards and whatever you need for authentication for proper maintenance of code in your application. Okay, so all the authentication part is written over here in this folder for clear and proper understanding of the code. Okay, so I have created a auth service and a auth guard file over here. So for creating this auth service over here, you need to run this. So I have created this auth guard and auth service over here in the auth folder. So what you have to do is just open this auth folder over here that you have created right now, and you have to go into the open integrated terminal that will get you the current path of this auth folder over here, and you just have to run the command that is ng generate service auth. This will generate a service file over here, always also a spec.ts file. This is used for the testing purpose. We are not currently using it right now. So these two files are being generated using this command over here. Okay, after creating this file, your file looks like this. Okay, so this service file is provided over here at a root level. Okay, in case you don't know what is the use of service file and how do we use it in our application, you can go and check into my Angular's playlist, which is for beginners, where I have explained all the fundamental concepts that you need to require to understand these concepts over here. So let's start over writing over in this service.ts file. Okay, so this is our auth service file. So let's just quickly have a look on what component do we have to create this auth service file. How? Okay, so this is the login component over here. Let's have a look at the login component. It looks like this right now. I am going to add the HTML, TS and CSS logic over here, and then just I'll show you the results over there. Okay, so now I have this login page over here, and I want that if suppose any user is coming over here and entering any wrong credentials over here, suppose ABC and any password also, and then when it's clicking on login, it is routing to the main application. Okay, so this shouldn't be happening over here. If the user is not entering proper valid credentials, it should not route on the original page of our application. Okay, it should be a validated user. So for this, we are going to authenticate this application. So here we go into a service file, and suppose, let's say, um, we are having a user, okay, and whose current logged in state is false. Okay, currently, this property will ensure us that is the user logged in or is the user log out. So this service file always has the logic of building the login method and the logout method. Okay, and this property over here states us that whether the user is logged in or whether the user has been logged out over here. So whenever the user logs in, okay, so this method is been triggered, and over in this login, whatever the user is passing, we have to state it over here. Okay, so whenever a user logs in, I am suppose taking a username and a password over here. So let's say the username, that is, let's say, user over here. Okay, and okay, a username. So if we go into our login file, okay, so we have created this login form, and I have two form controls, that is the username and the password over here. So in case you don't know how to create a reactive form, so I'll give the link in the description box of the complete playlist and also this video. So you can just go and check it out how to create a reactive form over there. And I am going to use this form controls over here. Okay, so whenever the user logs in, I want that the username, okay, suppose I'm taking it as string over here, and the password is also, I'm going to take string over here. Okay, now I'll go and check that if, okay, if my form controls, that is this username value, okay, is equal to, suppose, let's say I'm taking it as user, and let's suppose the password over here is nothing but password. Okay, so if the user enters username as user and the password as password, then only it will go and route on another page. Okay, so here whenever the user is logged in, okay, so we'll change this state of variable to true. Okay, stating that yes, my user is logged in, and will return true over here. Okay, that yes, my user has been logged in. Okay, now moving, if my user is not logged in, okay, so it will return a false value over here, stating that my user is not currently logged in. So if my user is not, so here this was about how to log in. Okay, now suppose my user is logged out. Okay, so how do I know that my user is logged out? By turning this method variable as false over here. Okay, so we'll use this login to log in into this, and we'll this use logout to log out from the component over here. So whenever I click on login, this method should be invoked from the service file. Now how to call this method, we'll see over there. First of all, now let's have a look at a quiz question for this auth service file. What is the primary purpose of an authentication service in Angular? So pause the video and try to answer it by yourself. The correct answer is to handle user authentication and authorization. To provide authorization that yes, the user can move forward to the different parts of the application, and to authenticate the application. Moving on to our next topic is nothing but the authentication guard. Okay, so this guard is used to control the access to the routes based on whether is the user authenticated or not. Okay, the authentication part of the user, that it is logged in or logged out, is from the service file, correct? So there the user service file will check that is the user authenticated or not. If it is authenticated, then it will access all the routes over here. If it is not, then it will control the routes on the basis of this. Okay, so it intercepts this route navigation and allows or denies the application to route on a particular page or not. Okay, so let's see how to create an authentication guard over here. So for creating a guard over here in our auth folder only, okay, we firstly have created the service file, and the next is to create a guard. Okay, so whenever you create a guard, you get a spec.ts file. Okay, that is the file for testing purpose, which we are not currently doing anything over here. We are doing all the functionalities on our ts file. Okay, so to generate this auth dot guard.ts file, we have to run this command, that is ng generate guard auth. Okay, so it is for generating the auth guard, okay, which controls all the routing accesses. So our file looks like this. Okay, so previously in previous versions the file used to look different. It would return a class, it would export a class over here, but now it is not exporting any class, it exports a function over here. So writing the logic, creating a constructor, everything changes over here in the auth guard ts file. So how do we authenticate over here? We'll have a look of this over here. So here what we'll do is we'll just comment out this part. Okay, we will not be using this. Now in this, what we are going to do is, this is not a class over here, so we can't create a constructor over here, or we can't use anything of the class properties. So what are we going to do is, we are just going to take a constant variable over here. Let's say its name is let's say its name as customer service. Okay, so this customer service is going to just inject the auth service over here. Okay, the auth service. So if we had a class over here, okay, so we would have defined this into our constructor. Okay, to access this auth service file, we had used constructor, but since we are not having any class, we have to inject this auth service into this file. Okay, so for injecting this, we have to use this inject from Angular core over here. Okay, from this we can inject this auth service file directly over here to access it. And we'll also have to inject router for routing it. Okay, so for routing also we used to just go and define it in our constructor, but since we cannot, so we are using this inject for that purpose over here. So in this, what we are going to check is that if, okay, if from in this auth service I have a variable. Okay, in this auth service I have a variable which states me that is the user logged in or is the user logged out. So it will check that is the user logged in. Okay, so if the user is logged in, then it will return me this value true. Okay, then it will return me true, that yes, you can access the routes over here in this application. But in the else part we have to write that yes, if the user is not authenticated, okay, so it cannot access, so it will go back and navigate to the login page. Okay, so our login page url over here is this uh, advanced angular and login. Okay, so this is nothing but our url for this. Okay, so I'll just show you. This is a url. Okay, so we are routing on to this path again. Okay, so if the user is entering anything wrong credential, so it will route back to this only again and again until it uses and logins successfully with right credentials over here. So this was about guarding the application. Okay, so it controls the access over here. Now I have to use this authentication guard. Okay, so I have to make use of this guard, okay, in the routing path. Okay, so where I have mentioned all my routing, okay, I have multiple routes over here. I can only access the login in the initial phase. Okay, anybody can come and access my login page over here to log in into the application, but rest of the paths should not be allowed if the user is not entering the proper credentials. So I have created a guard over here. Okay, that is this auth guard, which is having this function which checks that is my user logged in or is my user not logged in. So that I have to apply over here in this routing path. So what I'll go and do is I have multiple paths over here, correct? So just because I have multiple paths over here, I'll go and give this path over here as an empty string, okay, where I have multiple children. Okay, so these children are nothing but all my paths over here that are present. Okay, so I'll just take this path and put it over here. So these are nothing but the children of this path over here. Okay, so these are multiple paths that I have put over here, and I have to apply a single authentication guard that I have prepared for everyone over here, correct? So I have this can activate, and I'll just go and write over here nothing but the auth guard. Okay, the auth guard that I have defined over here. Okay, I'll just have to take this and I have to write it over here, correct? So I have to just import it from my auth guard file. So this will activate the auth guard. Okay, so whenever you are creating a authentication guard, you would be having 3 to 4 options. Okay, that is that can activate children, or 3 to 4 options are there over here. So I have selected this for authenticating my application. Okay, you can select it according to your requirements over here. But I prefer that if you are starting with this for this basic website, you can go with this can activate auth guard that is present over here. So select this can activate authentication guard over here to use the can activate auth guard. Now I have created this authentication guard, and now I have guarded all my paths also over here. Okay, now if I go into my service file, okay, so I'll move into my service file, move into my login file over here. Okay, so in this login file I have given as, whenever I click on this login button, okay, so whenever I click on this login button, I need to check, okay, that is my user properly logged in or not. Okay, so first of all what I'll do is I'll firstly check that is my form, okay, is my login form credentials that are given over here are valid or not. Okay, because I have set the validators as required, it will check that whether these validators are properly working or not. Okay, so in this, let's take I have a username over here, and this username will have the value of the login form user, right? And next I'll take the password, and into which I'll store the login form password that the user enters over here. Now what I'll do is I'll just go and check that if my form is valid, then I'll make another condition over here and check that if this dot auth service, okay, if this dot auth service dot login, okay, dot login accesses the login method from the service file, is having a username and also having a password over here. Okay, that if is this authenticated properly. Okay, if this condition satisfies as true, okay, that whatever the method over here, okay, suppose this is the username and this is the password. Okay, this condition returns me a value true. Okay, so if the condition gets true, then you have to successfully navigate me to, let's suppose I have a page, let's say that page, I out my page to a parent component over here. Okay, sorry, to this parent component over here. Okay, and if the value turns out to be false, okay, so it will move into the else part, throw an alert that I am entering a invalid credential over here. So please go and enter the correct credentials over here. And if we go into the parent component, okay, we'll just comment this part over here, and we'll just add a button, okay, which says logout. Okay, and on clicking on this logout, I'll initiate a logout method. Okay, that is nothing but in my ts file. Okay, I'll just call this, and first of all I need to initiate a constructor over here, because I need to define a property of auth service over here, auth service. So I'll just import the auth service, and I'll write that this dot auth service dot logout. Okay, so it will call the logout method from the auth service, and it will turn this value again as false. So if the value is false, then the user comes out through the application part. Okay, so the user can't access the page now anymore. So let's enter some credentials. The let's say, first of all, let's have a look that what our credentials were. Okay, so our credential is suppose user, and I am entering user as this. Okay, and password over here. Okay, so it will give me a message that it is having invalid credentials over here. Okay, but when I enter the correct password and user, that is user, and if I enter this correct password over here, then it will log in successfully. Okay, okay, so because I have written in the wrong loop over here, I have to write this when the form is not valid. Okay, so I have to write the else loop over here. Okay, if the form is not valid, then I have to use this else loop. So here, if I enter the correct password and correct username, it will log in me successfully to my parent component over here. Okay, so here it will go and check that did this work or not. Okay, so here we go and write in the user and write in the password over here, and just log in over here, right? So it will go and log into this page, and now I cannot just change path over here. Okay, I cannot just go and change any path. Suppose I want to change this path over here, so it won't allow me to change the path. And if we click on this logout, okay, so it will route me back to the. So here I also need to give this routing over here, that if I am not logged in over here, okay, so then just navigate me to the path that is the login path, right? So you have to navigate me to the logout. Then you have to navigate me to the logout part, right? Navigate me to the login page, right? Okay. So here, if we go and route to that page that we want, okay. So now we can't do this, but if we remove the guards, we can do it without authentication whenever we log in. and whenever we click on logout, will be log out automatically, and I cannot go and route back onto that page again without the authentication guard. Okay, so this provides a security to the application that only my authenticated and authorized users can log in into the application and access the application throughout. No other user can come and log in into my application over here. So this provides us with the security, and it gives us that assurity that all the users that are logging in are authenticated and authorized by us. Okay, stating that this is the username and this is the password that is allowed over here to access them. Okay, so this was all about authentication service, authentication guard, how to provide authentication to this. And now let's have a look at the quiz question now. What is the primary purpose of authentication guards in Angular? Okay, so pause the video and try to answer it on your own. So the correct answer is to handle routing based on user authentication status. Okay, so this authentication guards provides us with the routing authorization status that yes, the user has been authorized and authenticated. So we can handle routing accordingly, and if the user is not authenticated or not authorized, then the routing would not be performed and the user stays over on the login page until and unless it enters the proper valid credentials to enter into the application. Okay, so this was all about Angular authentication guards and services in Angular 17. So if you have any doubts or if you are facing any difficulties, you can comment down below, and stay tuned with the series. We have upcoming projects also over on this, and you can comment down any project topics that you are interested in or you are looking for. And make sure you hit the like button if you liked the video, and make sure you have subscribed to my channel so that you don't miss any video from my series. And make sure to complete the series and have hands-on practice on this, all the concepts that I teach. Okay, make sure to try it on your own, and if you are facing any difficulties, you can just comment down below and I'll help you reach out to that also. And I'll see you guys in the next lecture. Till then, stay tuned, share it with all your friends and colleagues, and take care. Till then, bye bye.